안녕하세요. 트위스트 마인즈 덕의 프로토스 유저 김준호입니다.
안녕하세요. 쇼피파이 리벨리온 테라 남현우입니다.
다른 선수들은 약간 비시즌이라고 쉬어가는 선수들이 굉장히 많았는데 저는 열심히 일하면서 그냥 자기 관리하고 뭐 여러분들도 아시겠지만 축구하면서 지냈던 것 같습니다.
평소 안 하던 운동을 하고 있고 또 같은 게이머들 불러서 이렇게 밥 먹는다든지 이렇게 좀 안 하던 행동들을 좀 하기 시작했는데 굉장히 제 삶에 도움이 많이 되는 것 같아가지고 요즘 이렇게 좀 재밌게 삶을 즐기고 있어요.
12강.
아 이럴 줄 알았어.
와 잠깐만. 8강의 A조, 저희조를 봤을 때는 일단 변현우 선수 최근에 거의 안 지고 있고, 그리고 A조 1등? 사실 여기서 솔직히 김유진이 1등으로 올라올 것 같진 않고 만날 것 같진 않기 때문에 조는 굉장히 훌륭하게 구성되지 않았나 싶습니다.
아니 그냥 아까 준호형이랑 얘기 좀 해봤는데 자기네 조가 괜찮대요. 괜찮은 편이래요. 혹시 내가 거기 조에 있나 싶었거든요. 근데 진짜 제가 있네요. 근데 준호형 말고도 B조 2등이나 A조 1등 보면은 B조가 그래도 저희 조에 비해서 상대적으로 좀 많이 편하지 않나.
지금 저는 준호 형보다 도호 형이 더 잘한다고 생각하고 있고, 물론 지금 못 이기고 또 못 이길 것 같긴 한데, 그래도 도호 형보다는 이제 후반이 좀 약하다 보니까 후반만 간다면 제가 충분히 이길 수 있을 거라 생각합니다.
아 어려운데 근데 제가 최근에 준호 형만 만나면 숨을 못 쉬겠더라고요. 그래가지고 네, 극복을 하긴 해야 되는데 좀 높은 무대에서 극복하고 싶어서.
근데 토스는 혼자 2개를 내요. 2개를 내고 하나를 빼는 거예요. 그러니까 진다는 가정 자체가 없고 이거는 뭐 데이터가 보여준다고 생각을 해요.
일단은 제가 지금 자중해야 될 필요가 있다고 생각하는 게, 타종전은 지금 굉장히 자신 있는 상태긴 한데 이게 대회는 다르다고 느낀 게 테란 놈들이 또 뒤에서 수작을 부리고 있기 때문에 GSL 시즌1 오래 기다렸는데 우승하겠습니다.
한 경기 한 경기가 되게 소중하다고 생각하기 때문에 꼭 열심히 준비해서 좋은 경기 보여드리도록 하겠습니다. 파이팅!
Is my mic on? All
There
right.
we go.
Finally, thank you. My mic is on. I tried to intro this like 3 times. Nothing happened. What is up, everybody? Welcome to another day here at the GSL. We're in the round of 8 now, and yeah, I mean, in just 2 days from now, we're going to be done with this whole tournament. We're speed running this GSL.
Yeah, it's actually kind of insane. I don't think we've ever had a GSL season remotely close to this, where we're going to have day after day after day. Today is the round of 8 Group A. Tomorrow is the round of 8 Group B. And then on Friday, it's the round of 4
Yeah.
and the finals. It is insane. And then, like, in 2 weeks, we're starting season 2 of GSL.
It's crazy.
Like, it feels like we're packing almost an entire year of StarCraft 2 in like a 3-month span. It's nuts.
wild. So this phase of the tournament, it's going to be groups just like we had last week. 2 players will advance, and then 2 will be knocked out. And we'll be doing the same thing again tomorrow, and that'll be giving us our Final 4. We're going to be doing the Final 4 and the finals on the very last day of our event. So it's all going to be squished together.
Yeah, and actually joining the round of 8, if you remember from the previous week, we actually started with a round of 12. So 4 players were seeded, 2 in the round of 8 Group A, 2 in the round of 8 Group B. Today, that's going to be ByuN and Hero, and the reason they were seeded into the round of 8 is because the GSL qualifiers almost had like a tier system where you qualified for the GSL, and then there's an upper bracket where if you keep winning, you seed directly into the round of 8. Those guys did it, so we didn't get to see them last week, but that means that they are stronger than the rest right now. And I don't know, man. I've been pretty excited to watch Hero play these games. I've been looking forward to it since last week because we've been hearing a lot of rumors about, Protoss players like PBZ not really a winnable matchup for the Zergs and PBT. I mean, Ghost now, the supply cost is higher. It's hard for Terran in the late game. It's hard for them in the early game. Kira in that interview, he's saying it feels like when he plays against Hero, when he plays against Protoss, it's like he can't breathe. But the Protoss players, they struggled a little bit in the first week, but now we have Hero and Classic in week 2, and I'm just so excited to see what they're going to bring to the table.
I'm very curious. There's been a lot of complaints about Protoss. I kind of welcome it, though. I mean, Zerg's been so dominant. Terran's been pretty solid here in Korea and in tournaments as well, so I welcome the changes. I'm glad the game is continuing to be tweaked and tuned here as StarCraft 2 moves forward here into the future. So today we're doing Group A. Tomorrow's Group B. On Friday, we'll be wrapping up the entire show. If you want to buy tickets, you can scan the QR code on screen. There's also a link to the website below that. I don't think we sold out today. In fact, we have a decent number of seats open, although there's some people that might be showing up late. But when it comes to the finals especially, guys, be sure to get a ticket ahead of time because the finals basically always do sell out.
I think it's already sold out.
Is it already sold out?
I think I saw on Reddit that the GSL finals sold out in like an hour or 2 or something.
Is that right?
I don't know how many minutes or hours it was, but yeah, they sold out basically right out of the gates, and I mean, that's typically the way it goes.
Yeah, well, unless somebody cancels that, I would scan that QR code, see if you can get something. Otherwise, you're going to have to watch from home. GSL is now funded by the community. There is a Patreon set up. They also take Star Balloons on the Soup channel. But this is, where StarCraft 2 is at. It's going to be driven by the community. This is where a lot of stuff internet-based is at, right?
Yeah.
It's the fans directly supporting the cause. The middleman is out of the picture. So, yeah, consider supporting GSL. I got to tell you, I'm so glad we're finally back. It was like 11 months since we had been in this studio. Felt like forever. But it's good to be home again.
Yeah, it really is. And also, I got to say, having the GSL replays, I talk about this basically every season since we added a Patreon, but it is so cool that we have the replays as part of the Patreon package because not only does it mean that you guys get your hands on those, but also community casters get to cast them. I've been watching like GSL qualifier replay casts from people like Zombie Grub, like Pig. It's just been so much fun. And here we look at the results from round of 12 Group A. That was last week. We have 2 players from each of those groups going into the round of 8. And here in Group A, joining ByuN and Hero, who were directly seeded, are Rogue and Kira, who got first and second in their groups, respectively. And this is a pretty stacked group, Tasteless. Rogue looked really strong. Kira is always basically the second best Terran in Korea behind Maru, I feel like. Since like 5 years ago, almost.
When ByuN and Hero are... Hero occasionally looks just god tier. I'm very curious to see where he's at. ByuN as well. ByuN always looking strong. And we're going to be actually casting his game first here. So yeah, let's see exactly what he's got to show us here. It's been a little bit weird. We talked about this last week, but there was a lot of downtime here with major professional StarCraft 2 matches. Normally it's easy to gauge where some of these players are because they just finished tournaments right before this, right? But now the season's in full swing. We're trying to assemble the right set of players to go into the Esports World Cup. That's the reason why all these pros are down here duking it out now. But I don't know exactly where ByuN's at. Going up against Rogue, though, Rogue has looked extremely strong. I know he was saying in his interview he's not as strong as he was before, but I think he's in very good form. I think it's going to be a tough match for ByuN.
Yeah, he had a bit of a hard time against Maru, but that's Maru, of all people, right? So coming into this group, I mean, just Rogue looked really killer, even though he emerged in second place from his group last week. And I'm expecting this to be a very close match. Now, ByuN, very different player from Maru in basically every capacity. He's usually a lot more in your face, a lot more aggressive, a lot more keen on going for something micro-intensive or going for an 8-rack, some kind of aggro play like that. Whereas Rogue, looking at the games from last week at least, as you were saying, we don't really have the big picture on where all these guys are at because there's been such a long offseason. He's also playing a pretty aggressive brand of ZBT, and so this kind of feels like it's going to be 2 freight trains basically colliding here, and I'm so excited to see how it's going to go.
Yeah, when you have 2 guys being the aggressor, somebody's wrong there, right? You're not supposed to be beating in the middle of the map and fighting. Rogue definitely bringing out a lot of that Roach Ravager style. We'll see if he keeps that consistent here going into this match against ByuN. And yeah, I mean, when it comes to ByuN, he's always had some of the best micro in all of StarCraft 2. So precise, so aggressive, so in your face. This should be a fun one. Guys, our game is loading up. ByuN versus Rogue in the round of 8 starts now. Okay, in the bottom left is ByuN, and the top right is Rogue. And, you know, let's see what version of ZVT Rogue's going to bring. He's always had a massive range, but he did seem very much inclined to go for a lot of this kind of powering up, ramping up to max supply with Roach Ravager, throwing stuff at the Terran, really trying to shake him down. But, you know, with Rogue, there's so many different ways he can look at this and approach this. And I think we're all still wrapping our head around the current pro-level meta for StarCraft 2. You know, these are the tournaments where there's the most on the line, and that means we're going to see whatever the players think are the strongest strats are going to be the most effective ways to win. So we're going to be unpacking this in real time. And the truth is, we've never had this much downtime in StarCraft 2 ever.
Yeah,
There's
it really
nothing that really
is.
compares to it. So it's almost like we're all kind of coming back out of that fog, out of that haze, and trying to see exactly where, you know, the professional meta is right now.
Yeah, it really is strange because not only do we have a big shakeup with the patch, with new map pool,
Yeah.
but on top of that, like you said, there weren't really any premier events happening over the last more than half a year almost, right? I mean, obviously there's tons of like online cups that are happening, a lot of community-funded tournaments, but nothing like a tournament like GSL where first place, not only do you get a huge cash prize, you also get a seed into EWC. And that's basically where everyone is looking to go to at the end of the circuit this year, is be in Riyadh, competing in EWC, the most prestigious esports tournament that we've had,
Biggest
with
thing
the most
that's ever
money on the
happened
line in
esports.
RTS.
Yeah,
it's just,
for all the games. I mean, it's on a level I didn't even know that we would ever get to. Prize pools this big for everything. It's crazy.
I remember when we had MLGs back in the day where we were like, what, $5,000
$5,000.
total
Yeah,
prize
yeah.
pool?
We've definitely gone up a ways from there.
Right.
So this is going to be a Reaper Scout here, a dance we've seen a million times before. Rogue right now is cycling away the weaker lings and trying to buy time until the queen can hatch here. Doesn't look. Oh, he actually does lose one ling.
Yeah. ByuN's always been one of the best players in the world, just getting a little bit more value out of his Reapers than anybody else. It's really funny.
And so in this game, it's going to be double command center into factory. So teching along with a lot of macro play.
Yeah, really greedy opening here coming from ByuN. Of course, he did go for that factory before the third CC, so it's not like the super insane greed that I think saw from Maru against, I can't remember, was that Rogue? I think that might have been Rogue, the game where he went really fast third command center and double engineering bay, and then almost died but was able to win the game with 3-3. For ByuN this time, it's a little bit more tempo focused because he is going for that tech. He's getting Hellions, he's getting the starport out more quickly, the double engineering bay not being thrown down just yet, but given ByuN's playstyle, this could very well be him pushing into a really powerful 3-base timing attack, because that's one of the boons of going for this early macro style, is that your economy, once it finally does ramp up, usually you have a window there as the Terran player where you can go for some kind of game-ending blow, and whether it works or not really is based on how the game itself is going to, you know, progress.
Now, it's going to be Hellions here to clean creep. Whoa, hold
Yeah,
on. I thought
okay, okay, he's faking, he's faking something.
Okay,
All right.
so he was faking the cloak upgrade there on the Banshees.
So we're gonna have a Raven. He's gonna try to interference Matrix's queen. I don't know if that works, Tasteless.
So yeah, he's trying to psych him out. He basically wants to force a couple spores down the road,
Yeah.
and make him pretty fearful of the cloaked Banshees. When in reality, it's going to be at least one Banshee, but not too much more. So from there, he's going to go into Marines. There are variations of this where you would go Hellion and go Cloak Banshee, so it's not out of the question. But, you know, fake teching like that is a great way to force an overreaction and an overcorrection back at home. We see the Evo chamber starting there, so obviously he wants to get upgrades, but it's also for spores as well. And he's going to land that command center over at his third. So this is really a game with a lot of powering, The Hellions can try to mitigate that creep, but for now, not a lot is going to be going down. It's just Zerg taking a 4th base. And, you know, a lot of TVZs we see the point of tension in the mid-game happen as the 4th base is about to finish. The Terran wants to push that and hit that. I don't think it's going to be the case this time around. We have double eBay. We have the barracks just now being added in from the original one. So this is going to be a much later push, probably around +2 attack, +2 armor from the Terran.
Yeah, I think you might be right about that. And Rogue is kind of keeping with the same philosophy of ZVT style that we saw from him in the early week, where he was keeping a pretty good tempo with the upgrades against some of the Terran players, such as Maru. He's actually going to be, I want to say, like, what, 20 or 30 seconds ahead of Terran here. You know, +1 infantry weapons only just now started for ByuN. Those evolution chambers have been pumping for a little while now for Zerg already. So for ByuN, he's not really going to have that perfect timing window that you often wish that you have, or hope that you have as Terran, where you have +2 finishing just before, like, +2 Carapace is done. Actually, look at this. Banshee's coming into the natural expansion, only able to get 2 drones. And, you know, on the other side of the map, ByuN a little bit greedy with these SCVs going to the 3rd base. He planted that one down basically as soon as it was done, because he recognized that Rogue wasn't going for any kind of big aggro play, and that's going to mean that Zerg's able to pick off, what, 3 SCVs in total there?
So we were talking about which version of Rogue are we going to have, because he can play any kind of ZVT he wants. We talked about the Roach Ravager style that was very popular last week. He's not going for that this time around. He's going to be going for melee and armor on the ground here. So definitely going to be a lot of Lings and Banelings.
Yeah, going to be more of a Ling Baneling style here for Rogue. And for ByuN, my point of contention is it going to be a 4th command center that goes down, or are we going to have even more barracks? Because I think I kind of lost the thread on the production tab because I keep switching back to these units. I want to say it's like 5 or 6 racks right now. I don't think we're going up to 8 this early. And that's really going to telegraph what ByuN's game plan is here in the mid game, because he is one of those guys, like we said, who can get the most out of his units. He is excellent at just eking all of the value he possibly can get with control. Yeah, 3 more barracks going down right now, so this is most likely going to be an 8 racks. And this initial push is going to try and slow down the economy here of Rogue and gain a foothold where the creep spread is mitigated, so that later on, once those 2-2 timing does come in, and once those 3 barracks are online and have pumped out a couple of round of units, ByuN can go for a killing blow. So for Rogue right now, sitting at 77 drones, he's going to try and not bleed out too many units. It's a very fine line to walk here as the Zerg, because you do not want to take too poor of a trade here against this kind of almost lukewarm push coming out from ByuN, because the real attack is going to ramp up in a couple of minutes.
Yeah, and this is going to be a huge force coming out to try to hit Rogue here. Now, Rogue has littered the map with a decent amount of Banes and Lings. He doesn't quite have enough tanks over here, I think, to create a real threat. He's going to be spreading these out and stimming it. He's actually killing off quite a bit. The counterattack is going to go through, and the depot wall isn't done.
Yeah, ByuN pretty ambitious, actually, with this rally across the map. I mean, he has, what, a dozen Marines over here at the natural expansion and a siege tank to clean this up, but he's losing a lot of SCVs. They did not get sent to the natural expansion. It just got completely cleaned up by these Lings on the right side there. I mean, that's brutal, right? Losing 22 SCVs. If he had sent those down to the natural, maybe he'd be in a little bit better of an economic position, but there's so much action on the map right now that it's hard to make these plays. And look at this foothold that ByuN's got right by this 4th base here for Rogue. The triangle turret taking so much pressure from that position with the siege tanks on the low ground, and then the Marine drop behind the mineral line. Rogue, I mean, yeah, he does have 80 workers to the 51 of ByuN, but the economy's basically equalized because he cannot mine from this base.
Yeah, he's doing a great job with the center set micro. Picks up and then unloads back in the corner. The tank's continuing to shell. The Marine's going to close in on the side over here. Ling's going to try to come around. The tank is doing so much work, so much value coming out of here. The Queens close in onto the high ground. They can pick off at least one of those tanks. I think the other one is too far back. And instead of rejoining with his main push, ByuN is going to push into a separate part of the map here in the top left.
I love this move coming out to the top left. He knows that Rogue sent those drones somewhere, and ByuN, he didn't get the worker kills, but he might be able to get a hatchery. Oh, those Baneling connections are massive on the Marines right there in the mineral line, and now the Hydra's coming in, setting up an arc. Rogue, it's still such a close defense because these hatcheries, Tasteless, I think they're going to go down. Looking at the mini-map, we can tell on the top left, Rogue was able to repel that attack, but if this hatchery falls, and that hatchery falls in the top left, it doesn't matter how many drones you've got. You're still on a 3-base economy against a Terran dropping mules. You can see right now the mineral income. It's what, 2.7K there for Rogue, 2.3K for ByuN. despite the worker differential. These units even escaping there in the medevac. I mean, it's anyone's game, but I feel like ByuN is getting a little bit too much value out of these units right now.
Yeah, he's down quite a bit on workers, but I think all ByuN has to do is win the next fight or two. This hatch is so low, he could just run in here and snipe it if he wanted. He's going to try to take a proper fight. He guns down some of the Banelings, the others connect. And I think the Hydras are going to barely lose this fight. And that means Rogue is going to, I think, just barely lose this game. I don't think he has any kind of recourse here. He's going to turn his attention to the hatchery, to the drones. The counterattack is not enough. It is shut down by the reinforcing Marines. The Lurkers are out of range. This is a 3-base Zerg versus a 3-base Terran. That is not enough from the Zerg's position.
Yeah, what a brutal timing here for Rogue. He's waiting for all these high-tech upgrades to come in. Adrenal Clan's only just now finishing. Seismic Spine's only just now finishing. He just made, I want to say, like 4 or 5 Lurkers. All of these things, if they had happened a little bit earlier, maybe he would have been able to hold on to that 4th base. Instead, he's just reset to a 3-base economy. I'm not sure if ByuN has enough to kill him right now, but it is really not looking good for the Zerg because yeah, I'm not seeing a path for Rogue to retake one of these bases. The income is just so sparse. And the natural expansion already starting to mine out. GG is called.
ByuN looking just nasty back there. Let's not forget that Rogue had a really important, successful moment where he got in with his lings and just killed all the SCVs. It was like ByuN was fighting it, except he wasn't able to deal with a small group of lings that killed off, I think it was like 22 SCVs.
Yeah, it was the full mineral line.
Yeah, and the fact of the matter is that ByuN still won with that push. Had Rogue not gotten in there and hurt those SCVs, I think ByuN would have crushed even harder, but ByuN just persevered through that. Big decision to not reinforce at the base, at the 4th base, and instead try to go for that 5th base.
Yeah, that was
on
very
the far
smart.
left. Yeah, I mean, he basically, Rogue went from 5 bases to 3 to being out of the game.
Yeah, and that was basically a necessary move there for ByuN because he couldn't get the drone kills. The drones were still alive, but I mean, you kill the hatcheries, they have no place to go, right? So ByuN able to win really a back and forth game number 1 there with a incredibly strong 8-racks push. Let's see if he keeps up the pressure here. Moving on to set number 2, ley lines. ByuN leading this series 1-0.
Really exciting to see ByuN playing so well in that first game. You know, we're really in that phase right now, and then we're back into competitive SC2 for the next couple months here, trying to identify and weigh and measure each pro, like for where they're at, you know, and the fact that he had a performance that good against Rogue is really saying something. It's ByuN down here in the bottom left. Rogue is in the upper right. Remember that Rogue elected to go for Ling Bane with Hydra. Not Ling Bane with Muta or anything like that, just trying to basically have decent creep spread and have enough explosive damage output that he could obliterate the Terran's position on the board. Didn't end up working out. ByuN went for 3 command centers, double eBay, delayed barracks. He teched behind it. He basically got everything late, as late as he possibly could.
Flew here from Poland.
Excellent,
Welcome. Just here to study builds for the ladder. Oh, look at that Mexico drawing. That's nice. I like that cactus.
Yeah, good StarCraft drawing there.
StarCraft fans are so artistic. I'm always impressed with the cheerfuls we have down in the audience.
Yeah. There's a lot of good ones every time we do something in the studio here. So, what kind of ZVT is Rogue going to bring? I don't know if he's going to try to recreate what happened in the last game, but on a successful level where he's actually holding the pushes. And is ByuN going to be as greedy? ByuN, he did a 3-base powering push. We've seen a lot of games where he'll go for 2-base pushing. Right now, overall, and I know we're pretty fresh back into StarCraft 2, but we've had a lot of fairly greedy builds used in this season of GSL. So let's see.
I feel like, a lot of these maps are new enough, and I don't play Terran. So they're new enough and I don't play Terran, and so it's hard to read exactly, what games or what maps are the ones that you would want to play a really aggressive game on, like ByuN did on the previous map, going for that 8-racks play. But it feels like in general this map pool actually leans a lot more towards those kind of aggressive pushes than map pools that we had in the past, where things were a little bit more campy for the Terran.
Yeah.
Like, I'm thinking back to that position there by the triangle third of the Zerg, which was the 4th base that Rogue had taken, and ByuN being able to set up those siege tanks there on the low ground at an ulterior expansion that couldn't hit the mineral line, but were just able to provide enough cover fire for the Marines to drop behind that hatchery and basically render the base unmineable for Zerg. And I'm looking at the architecture here on ley lines, and I feel like the third to third distance on this one is also close enough that we might just see ByuN go for something like another 8 racks. And I don't think it's going to be, excuse me, I don't think it's going to be the super upgrade focused kind of 8 racks that we saw from Maru in week number 1. I think it's probably going to be very similar to what we saw ByuN do in just the previous map here against Rogue. And so for Rogue, if you can glean some of this maybe based on the third command center timing or just by knowing the way that ByuN approaches TBZ, I'm curious if he's going to pivot from that Ling Baneling Hydra style, which, although it is a very powerful composition, you get in these situations where if you trade the Ling Baneling inefficiently, especially if you get them caught by Hellions in the center of the map a couple of times. Nice depot timing there by ByuN.
That was wild.
I thought that was going to get in for a second.
Same.
But Rogue let out quite a few Lings, and when you get into a position like that one against an 8 racks, the moment that there isn't a front line for the Hydras anymore, like we saw those 2/2 Marines go against the +2 Carapace Hydras. Oh, look at this double factory! What are you doing, ByuN? All right, throw all that out of the window. We have something completely fresh out of the box here being cooked up by ByuN.
So this is going to be triple fac.
Oh, this is awesome. What are you going to do, ByuN?
I don't know. Maybe it's like Hellions and Cyclones? Zerg is making a decent amount of Lings, but I mean, you always have a couple of Lings to try to chase away the Hellions.
Oh, man. I'm
I don't
excited.
feel like
I was
we've
not
ever
expecting
quite
this.
had, third command center into 2 more factories. And the factories are very deliberately hidden, tucked away down in the bottom left, and it's going to go into 2 more add-ons.
Yeah, double tech lab.
The tech labs don't always tell us exactly what's going to happen. We have to see what upgrades are picked and what units will actually be made out of the factories.
And an armory. I wonder if this is just going to be straight up battle mech.
Yeah, maybe he just goes for a bunch of Cyclones and kind of kites and plays a different game.
Yeah, I mean, there we go. All right.
Yeah.
Upgrading the Cyclones right out of the gate. This is going to be a lot of fun. I'm wondering if this is going to catch Rogue as off guard as it's catching us. And like, we can see everything, right?
I'll tell you what, man. I mean, I thought maybe he was going to deviate from his previous build. I didn't even think he would go mech. You know, ByuN is not one of the players you think mech when you think of the Terran players in GSL. Like Gumiho is an example. You go, oh yeah, he'll make Cyclones. He'll do some weird stuff in one of these games. Gumiho might have more builds than anybody in GSL. But yeah, I mean, to see ByuN going for this is interesting. So it's blue Flame Hellions with upgraded Cyclones.
Yeah, boosting that lock on a little bit here.
You know, the way this engages is very different from the other compositions from Terran. So, you know, when this blindsides you, you might just not be ready at all.
Oh, and I love the vehicle armor too coming in. Oh man, if Rogue goes for a Ling heavy composition and he's trying to kill Hellion Cyclone with +1 armor, I feel like the only way that you're going to clean this up here as Rogue is if you somehow get a surround with one hand of Lings and then get a connection of Banelings with speed on the other. Like you gotta somehow corral this army, but I don't know. I feel like Rogue's gonna have a very hard time stopping this push. Upgrade's about to come in. Infernal Pre-Igniter 5 seconds away here. Cyclone's locking onto these queens. Transfuse is already starting to pop, and now it's just a dance here. I mean, look at the kiting. There's no Baneling speed for quite a while. Magfield Accelerator about to finish on those Cyclones, increase the damage of that lock-on. Oh, this is a scary push, Tasteless. Rogue has really no way to close the distance on this. The queens are falling.
The damage is just snowballing here. The Lings and Banes are going to have a hard time getting in there and connecting, but some do. They hit onto that Hellion, but once he's off creep, he has to turn right back around. The Cyclones are going to continue to pick off anything in their path, including Overlords and Overseers.
I mean, the micro ability here for ByuN is just massive. Okay, Lings hatch from the hatchery. That's going to allow them to slow down the mech here a little bit. Banelings get better connections really than they deserve because there is no Baneling speed. That's about the best you could hope there for a Rogue. But still, okay, oh, another good surround with the Lings. This is taking a lot of the wind out of the sails here for this attack, man. That is some good control from Rogue.
Yeah, but there's not that much left over here.
It might just not be enough.
I think this could just snowball into a loss here. I mean, we see the The Banelings are morphing in range. I'm surprised ByuN's not actually diving in on that.
Cyclone's like, I'll help, guys.
Yeah.
Or not a Cyclone, excuse me, the Spore Crawler just waddling
He's
in
going to
there.
go for the hatchery. The Lings are going to come back in. They are getting some surface area in front of the Cyclones. These Cyclones, they need to be split. Some of the shots are just barely not going to kill it.
It's such an
Oh my
awkward.
God.
It's such an awkward little interaction. Okay, behind this, 4th command center going down here for ByuN. So he's going to continue to macro up. He's actually so confident he is building it on site in the center of the map right now.
Yeah.
12 Cyclones in total on the field. I mean, the army here for Rogue, you need to somehow get some surround with the Lings to deal with this. I still do not see him getting the momentum. All right, Banelings here on creep, but there just aren't enough of them. These Cyclones, they are trading so well right now with the Zerg. You can look at the supply just telling the story. It's 54 army supply, the 29 here for Rogue.
And it's just this blue ball of death that he is able to micro in a way where, you know, there's some damage being distributed on some units, but they're never really being killed off. And everything that Zerg can pop out of eggs is being wiped out. I mean, yeah, there it is. GG
Wow.
ByuN 2-0ing Rogue in what I have to say was a very impressive series from ByuN. He brought 2 very different TVZs here. Classical TVZ push with Marines and Medivacs and tanks, and then an alternative approach with Blue Flame Hellions into upgraded Cyclones. Into a game where it's like Rogue was trying to come up with some kind of solution, but it was basically bleeding out his army. Anything that hatched was never able to stay there. Couple close calls there. ByuN almost getting hit by all the Banelings, but he is able to kind of pull away, retreat, do damage, and get the job done. Guys, short break. Hero vs. Hero coming up next.